Welcome back to, I don't know whether this is part 2 or part 3 to be honest with you. Welcome back to Man Fights with fucking Carburettors. Yeah, this RC30, we got to pull the carbs off it. It doesn't want to rev at all. If you haven't watched the previous parts, go watch them because this will make no fucking sense. Oh, don't swear at all to you. Basically, it starts and sort of idles but won't take any throttle, and we took the main jet holders off. Main jet holders? Little main jet blanky plugs off the bottom of the float bowls that we can get to on these 2 cylinders on this side, and they're just full of, it's not varnish, it looks like rusty, slightly watery schmoo. So I'm going to have to pull the carbs, but I'm a little bit worried because I can't get carburettor inlet manifold rubbers for it, and they're 35 years old at this point, aren't they? Okay, no point in talking about it, let's just fucking do it. Oh, where's my screwdriver? There it is. Good news, guys. I've just spent a bit of time on the interweb hunting for parts. I've got inlet manifold rubbers on their way, genuine Honda, and I've got gasket sets on their way. So they do a gasket set, one for each carburettor, you get a float bowl gasket, various other O-rings. So I should have everything I need to go through these carbs properly. So let's get them off, let's get them on the bench. I don't think they're going to be particularly dirty at all. Certainly not varnishy, but there is some sludge in the bottom of the float bowls blocking up the main jets as far as I can see. So I think a straightforward clean, a strip and a rebuild with all new rubbery O-rings and bits like that, and I think we'll be golden. I've got I said, didn't I, I've got an air filter on the way for it. Hopefully that'll come by the time I get these carburetors back together. Right, time lapse these carbs off. They're not difficult to get off at all. There's loads of room to get to all the clips. It's just, yeah, it's not a complicated one at all, other than potentially the inlet manifold rubbers being fucking rock solid. Thank you. Now then, you down there. Let's get another one. Okay. Throttle cables. What do I need? A 10mm. It's mad to think, isn't it, that 35 years ago this nut was done up by some Japanese, I was going to say guy, but it might have been a gal, in the HRC factory, and they only employed in the HRC factory the guys or girls that were doing the assembly of these things. They were the fucking creme de la creme of Honda at the time. I don't know, just a bit of history, isn't it? It's fucking amazing. Going to be an idle down there. Oh, have to unbolt you from the frame then, are we, and bring the bracket with you. Here we go. Have I got any blanks the right size? No. Too small. What about these yellow ones? Too big. Okay. Some paper for now. Paper cloth. Right. To the workbench. Right, let's blast these apart and find out why it won't rev up. Pretty sure I know why it won't rev up. They're just full of goop. Slides aren't stuck, by the way, in case you were wondering. And it was even... Normally, with a stuck slide and a completely blocked main jet, you can get a little bit of throttle because you know those transition holes we talk about underneath the root of the butterfly. There's normally a little bit of fuel from there before it starts pulling anything out of the needle jet. And this wouldn't rev at all, so I don't know. I think they're just generally a bit minging and in need of some love. I'm guessing this will be a time lapse and I'll bring you in when there's interesting things. God, it's fucking remarkable. I think it's 35 years old, right? The rubber of the diaphragms is like... It's as good as the day they were fucking made. Can you imagine, right, something that's made in this day and age, what state it would be in 35 years' time? They just... I know I sound like an old fuck, but they really don't make them like they used to, do they? They just don't. Everything is built to a fucking price these days. Right, let's have a proper look in here then, shall we? The bit that I can see of the main jet is certainly not shiny brass, let's put it that way. But I don't think we're going to see lots of varnish contamination. I don't think that's what's going on here. Okay. Wowzers. I suppose it has been on there for... Oh, hang on a minute. Is that... No, that's not stopping it, is it? But let's move it anyway. How hard is that going to be to pull off there? Let's get rid of the clips. Is that a really good shot of my arm, or am I doing all right? There's some rubberiness to them, but they are pretty horrible. Let's just get a little bit of leverage. Oh, I've moved the float ball now, which is exactly what I wanted, but not in that way. Uh-oh. Felt like silicone then. As I was pulling it off, it sort of, it peeled away like it was stuck down with silicone, but it's not. Sort of a bit of a tide mark in the bottom, and it all looks a little bit scuzzy, but nothing too horrific. I wonder if that pilot jet is blocked up. Probably not, because it was idling, wasn't it? Let's not worry about that at the moment. Let's just keep stripping. Yeah, look at all the... You getting that? Is my torch going to work? Oh, the bloody battery's flat. Oh no. It's got this weird sort of... what I'll do... What the fuck is that? It's like... Feels slightly gritty and... fucking hums. I don't know what that smell is. Anyway, whoa god, not the camera, sorry. They definitely needed to be taken apart, didn't they? So I'm just going to continue. You don't fucking need to see this, do you? And if I'm honest, you're sort of in my way. I'm going to continue, and I'm also going to split the bodies from one another so we can do the O-rings on the... Can't see them from that side, that plate's got to come off. I'll probably time-lapse the rest of it, and then I'll show you when they're all in bits. Now then, how tight are you going to be? I'm going to get my JIS bit and a socket, I think. Tappy tappy. Marvellous. You're going to come off, you're going to get stuck on the dowels. Like that. One of the dowels just dropped out. Make sure the dowels all stay in this side. Like that. Go up there out the way. Now then, what I also bought, did I mention, can't remember whether I did because they weren't expensive, but these distribution pipes here, the T-pieces, they're famous for, they're plastic, and they're famous for being, can you see those? The piece here with a T and a pipe on, same there, then there. They're famous for being brittle and breaking easily, and I think, if I've read the parts fiche correctly, because I tried to just get the O-rings and they weren't available, you had to buy the whole T-piece, but I found some. They come as a set, the T-piece with the O-rings, so I've got, they weren't cheap, but they weren't massively expensive, so, you know, in for a penny, in for a pound. We're going right the way through these carbs, so we might as well make them as good as humanly possible. Let's get rid of those O-rings. I did see in the gasket kits that were coming these big O-rings, and I was wondering what they were for, and that's what they're for. They're for there, look. Remarkably good though. I mean, this is super, it's as rubbery as the day it was put together. It's amazing, really. Okay, so we've got another bracket on the bottom under here. This one here. And then it'll be all wibbly wobbly. What I might do, rather than disturbing all these all the choke mechanism and all the bits and pieces, what you can do is, and I'll show you when the parts arrive, but once I've got these T-pieces, I can move the carb slightly and get the new T-pieces in without completely, you know, making my job a complete fucking catastrophe. It's not like I wanted to separate the bodies completely so I can vapor blast or something. I just need to pull them apart far enough to be able to get these T-pieces in. So I can remove some of these rubber pipes to give myself a little bit of fighting room. Like that. Yeah, it comes apart super easy. I can get these T-pieces. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove, well, that pilot jet is blocked freaking solid. You know, the idle we had was more than likely running on the choke circuit, not on the idle circuit. Yeah, it's fucking rock solid, that. Oh, it's all gooey feeling. Okay, I understand now. So we'll get all the brass out, set that soaking. A bit of chink of daylight through that one. We'll get all the brass out, get it soaking, and then we'll wait for all the parts to arrive. Oh, I'll fill the carburetor bodies up with Jim's juice. You know, start that doing its thing, and then in a couple of days when and I'll keep them on the bench here, and I'll give them a snifter of carb cleaner every time I come past, you know, or I've got 10 minutes. I'll blow some juice through all the passageways, and then when we've got all the parts, I'll rinse them off with brake cleaner, and we can gingerly separate them and get these T-pieces in, hopefully without disturbing. There's a few bits that are going to need to, like the little springs on the, it doesn't matter, but I'm not going to end up with 4 separate bodies is what I'm saying, because a lot of the choke mechanism and this throttle linkage joining the two halves together doesn't need to be disturbed to facilitate the installation of the fucking T's. Okay, that's the 4 pilot jets. I need, what do I need? That looks 7 milli. That's an 8 mil. Or is it 6 even? It's a 6 mil. Tell me, because I don't know the answer. Are all the main jets the same size? I don't know. Let's have a look, shall we? Fucking magnifying, can't speak magnifying glass because I'm so fucking blind. That is a 112. That is a 112. Oh, that's a 115. Okay, pay attention, guys. That's a front one. And that is a 115. So 115's in the front 2 cylinders. 112's in the rears. That is a size up, isn't it? That emulsion tube, by the looks of it. Is that one? Yes. You also got to be careful with some of these things. I'm not sure about these, but I will do my research before I put it back together. You've got to make sure that the emulsion tubes and the needle jets and the slide needles aren't different depending on which cylinder they come out of. So just eyeball for marks on them. That has no markings whatsoever. Neither does that. Neither does that. Okay. Floats. Floaty McFloats. Let's have a pot for you. How are you looking? Fucking hell, how is it this good? Amazing. Alright then, so I don't think you need to see any more of this. I'll continue strippage and get them soaking in carb juice, and then when the parts finally arrive we can reconvene and start the assemblage. We can get them back on and then hopefully get it running properly. Right, thank you guys. I will see you soon. It is a few days later. I've had a delivery. These carbs have been soaking in carb juice, as have the brass parts. They're ready to be washed off with a bit of brake cleaner and airlined off. So I've got my delivery of some of the bits. Carb rubbers, manifold rubbers, gasket sets. So you buy a full set per carburettor. You even get the little filter look for the float needle valve. There's some parts in there I probably won't use. That is a little gasket for the idle air cutoff valve, which I'm not going to remove. I've taken one of them off and had a look, and it's spotlessly clean in there. You get the idea. So those are the gasket sets. What else have I got? Oh, and then these. I've got two of these. So these are those T-pieces I was talking about. So you get the T-piece and you get the two O-rings. So I need to split the carburetor bodies and eke these in. Splitting the bodies, I'm not going to, I said didn't I earlier, I'm pretty sure, this is a few days later, so I forgot what I put to camera, but I'm going to take this metal plate out of the centre, which will then make the carbs all wibbly wobbly, and undo these screws for the choke. I'll show you the choke mechanism, and I can get the carburetors apart enough to get those T-pieces in. There's some springs that will jump out for the, it's hard to show you, there's a spring down. See where these mechanisms join for the carb balancing? There's a spring in there that's going to fire out. There's also a spring in here, which I can probably just remove with my fingers between the two shafts. That's that one. There's another one on that one, which is a smaller diameter. Get those in, get them bolted back together, and then I'm going to, in fact what I'll do is I'm going to wash them off first before I do that, just in case there's any shit dropping in, any other, you know what I'm saying. So I'm going to brake clean these off, airline them to death so they're squeaky clean in all the orifices, and then we'll put those T's in and we can start the assembly. Fingers crossed it'll run okay. Carbs are all clean, so massive brake cleaner and just a little, I use these, fucking hell, am I getting into this now? I use these detailing brushes for cleaning. They're awesome. So brake cleaner, spray, brush, wash the outside off, then brake cleaner. Use aerosol brake cleaner as well as brake cleaner in a pump bottle. This is a Worth one, and I buy 25-litre drums. But then I also get my brake cleaner in aerosols from Larson, and you can put a straw on them and you can blast it through all the little passageways. Really good way of washing out the carb juice. And then a massive airline off. Let's just hang that back up there. So they're ready now to be split, so I can put these in. In fact, let's get, where are the O-rings? Let's get a little bit of rubber grease, pop those on there. That's one of them. Minging gloves, let's have some fresh ones. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this bracket off, 8 screws, loosen 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on the little choke mechanism so the carbs can slide apart a little bit. Flip them over, and hopefully we'll get enough movement out of the carb bodies to replace these. I've already, did you see in the last bit of video when I was talking about these, I've already cracked these off, so they're just hand tight. Let's get that bracket out of the way. Now then, flat screwdriver. It's going to eyeball these adjusters. What I'm going to do is I'm going to back out these adjusting screws. Let's get a screwdriver that actually fucking fits that. What I'm doing is I'm taking, you'll see actually, let me get a little pick. Could probably pick it out of there rather than have it just fucking eject. There's a spring behind here. This mechanism used for balancing the carbs. They've got little springs behind them. If you back these screws out and then prise out the spring, I'm backing them out not just to get the spring out, or not even to get the spring out, it just gives you a little bit more free play when you go to try and get the spring back in. But pull those out beforehand, otherwise it's a bit like taking a fucking watch apart. They just pull the carb bodies apart and the fucking springs go everywhere. Let's put those there. Got that one there to loosen. That bracket may very well just fall off there, but that doesn't matter. And that one. And that one. And that one. And then we'll very carefully... Are you going to come off? Yes. What about you? Yes. Lift them over as a whole. You got a good enough view there? Let me zoom you in slightly. I think you zoomed in all the way, or can I do... I'm trying to zoom for you guys. Oh, come on now, Jim. I think I've got to stop recording before it all... Anyway, fuck. Right, so O-ring wise. So let's take that out of there. That out of there. That out of there. So I've got, I think, in my gasket set, I've got O-rings for there and there and there and there, I think. Let's just grab a kit. Or am I making that up? I don't know. Let's get a blade and open that and have a look inside. What do we get? Little tiny O-ring for the idle mixture screw. What else is in there? 2 O-rings for fuck knows, don't know at this point. Float ball gasket. That is the O-ring for the inlet side there. That is going to be the O-ring for the jet holdery thing. What else have we got? That is the filter for the float needle valve seat. Pushes on there. Like that. Get it in shot. Okay, that's tight. It's gone on. Super duper tight. So that goes on there. And then also in this kit here, there is... Where is it? There's a new washer for there. And then there's a little weird shaped oval O-ringy seal thing, and that's for the idle air cutoff valve, which I'm not removing. And then that one, I think that's for the slide. Hang on, let me grab one. Yeah, that's for there. That's the, you know, on the top of the diaphragm cover. In the top of this thing. That's the O-ring for there. Okay. Why was I doing that? Oh, I was looking, wasn't I, to see if there was an O-ring for there and there and there and there, which there isn't. Okay. Or, hang on a minute, there's 2 O-rings in there, isn't there? Which I was wondering what they were. They're too small to be those. Anyway, let's get that out of there. Worry about the pipe in a minute. Make sure it is the right size and the right one, which it is. That in there. That in there. Which fucking side did that go? I wasn't paying attention. Must be over the top, mustn't it? Like that. You get the idea. Little spring fell out there. That's the spring from between the shafts underneath. Make sure the throttle linkage pieces line up. Which way did that go, guys? That way, I think it was, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm going to carry on assembling. Get these back together, and then what I'll do is for the balancing, the bench balance, the bollocks balance. We just eyeball the butterflies, get the same amount of daylight roughly showing through. That's good enough, and then we can fit them on the bike with the new inlet manifold rubbers. Hopefully it'll run nicely. We can synchronise them. And then what's left? I need to give it a really good clean before I start putting the fairing back on. I've got all the bodywork to clean still. I'll bring you in at various intervals anyway. Let me get these back together. And then we can fit them. Onwards. Now then, what have I forgotten? That they're in position without their springs. That spring needs to go back in there. And then I need the bigger one. Where's that got to? There. Can't see, can you? Do you need to see? Probably not. That one goes in there. I've got all my pipes in the right places. Make sure everything is rotatey, which it is. Now then, the tricky bit is getting these little springs back in. Let me see if I can zoom you in. This is basically next to impossible to film, but this is the mechanism that joins the two car bodies together. This is the adjusting screw that I backed out here. And then in this little gap here, let me stop that from moving. You can see the space where the spring goes. So if you hold that in the right place and get one of the springs, there's a little noggin on this side. Not even sure that's in focus, but what you can do is you can hook the spring in. My big fat finger's going to be in the way. You can hook the spring over the noggin and then just push it into position like that. We're getting that. And then obviously I'm going to adjust this screw. In fact, I can wind that in with my fingers just about. Anyway, let me do the other two. Got some choke brackets and stuff to go on. And then we can do normal carb assemblage. A word on float height. So, generally speaking, if you're using a genuine float needle valve and the carbs haven't been fucked with, you don't have to mess around worrying about adjustment. The little, I know I've talked about this in the past, that little tang on the float, the metal tang that you would focus, that you would bend to adjust the float height and consequently the fuel level in the float bowl. All things being equal, that tang is usually dead straight to the float. There's an ever so slight bend in that one. Get it to focus. But my point still stands. Generally with a float, that tang is dead flat if everything else is all good and all original. If you start changing float needle valves for pattern ones, or even, you know, another genuine one of a different age, you know, if I bought a genuine Honda float needle valve for these carburetors 30 plus years on, pretty sure it would be identical, but you'd be wanting to check the float levels. In this instance, I haven't changed anything, so I'm not going to. Shoot me. I don't care. Fucking hell, that's fiddly. Do you need to see this? I'm not sure you do. I'm going to get these back together now. I'll bring you back in when I'm fighting them back onto the bike. and then we can get it started. I'm going to go and make a brew as well. I'm absolutely gasping. Really good progress has been made. They're pretty much back together. Float bowls all on. The idle mixture screws are 2 turns out. They'll probably need a little bit of a tweak, but I'll put the gas analyzer up the exhaust pipe and have a little bit of a sniff once the carbs are balanced, just to dial that in properly. What was I going to say? Oh, I was second guessing where this pipe was going to go exactly, because I couldn't remember. And what I wanted to say, and I've said this before, is don't be too proud to take photographs of everything, because it's very helpful when you put stuff back together to get stuff in exactly the same position. So I just looked back at the photograph I took, and that pipe goes there. God, everything is so rubbery, it's amazing. Okay, so the only thing left is, it's going to have to go that way, isn't it? Otherwise it's going to touch the pipe. Is this jobby? Obviously those tabs are there for, obviously the tabs are obviously there for obvious reasons. Imagine it fucking eating one of these screws. That would be bad, wouldn't it? Yeah, I need to go and pick up my storage plus so I want to feed these carburetors on the bench. I mean, I could just feed them with, getting that? No. I could just feed them with normal unleaded, couldn't I, at this point? But I need the storage plus to put in the fuel tank to run it with a tank on, so the day is getting on a bit. So we'll go on a little road trip in a second and get the fuel. I might take you with me. I might leave you here. I don't know. Wrong fucking screw, Jim. Oh, I see why. There's one big one on the top, one little one on the bottom. Sit down, I'll be able to see it. Okay. Click. Click. Okay. They're together. Hopefully, perfectly. I don't anticipate any issues, but you know what it's like when you say that out loud. Right, let's go and have a drive and get that fuel. Let's go. I get my storage fuel from a place called, is it called Wellsford Garden Machinery? They're a garden machinery dealer that are a supplier of the storage fuel. Well, they have an account with whoever, what's the name of the company it comes from? Can't remember, but anyway, they're a dealer. Because it's never in stock anywhere. You've got to shut that up. It's never in stock anywhere. You've got to order it specially. I think I ordered 50 litres. I can't remember, but I ordered a quantity. And I don't want to put E5 or E10 in those carbs. I'll just, from the get-go, I'll put storage fuel in them, even when I'm testing them on the bench. And then I think I'm going to need to feed myself on the way home. I'm absolutely starving hungry. And then, you know, we're not far away from running it, are we? Carbs on, get those in, that manifold rubbers in the right place, like I said. Wash the carbs on. The air filter hasn't come yet, annoyingly, but I can put the old filter in to road test it. The tank will come off without disturbing the seat unit or any of that drama, so I can Bosch the air filter in when that arrives, even if the rest of it's done. Coming with the air filters also a load of new fairing screws and those plastic washers. So I think in this episode, let's get it running, and then I think the actual riding of it and the road testing of it, I think that'll be an episode all on its own. It's a real special one for me, this bike, and I'll try and get some nice camera shots. I might even get Ben to fly a drone or something, I don't know. But I think riding of it, the road test, will be an episode all on its own. Right, I'll shut up and stop talking. I want to listen to my podcast, and I'll see you in a bit.
Neil, and I see these people that they're just artists through and through. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for better or worse, not perfect people, but they are who they are.
Johnny Cash's son.
For the most part.
On Joe Rogan. Really interesting.
Has an ego.
Never listened to any of his music, but he sounds like a really cool guy.
Relationship with it, because the ego is just the representation of who we are to the rest of the world.
Well, everyone has an ego.
Yeah, we all do.
And the struggle with the ego is just like the struggle with good and evil. I think part of it is necessary for you to overcome.
Yeah.
You need that.
Yeah.
You need those, and you also need to see people fall prey to it.
Yeah.
And we see that a lot.
Ren, there's an artist named Ren.
No.
Oh man, you'd love it. You'd love his work. He plays guitar and he sings amazing.
Spell it?
R-E-N.
R-E-N?
He's from England, or he's from Wales. He's Welsh.
Oh.
And this guy. Yeah, so he's got a song called Higher End. Listen to Higher End.
£219.36 for 50 litres. What's that, £4.40 a litre? I think there's a little bit of trade discount on there too. I sell it for £5 a litre to my customers. And got myself a KFC. It's a bit naughty, but fucking I'm hungry. I just realised I haven't got a mic connected. Can you hear me okay? Right, I'm going back to the workshop and nick this. I'll see you there. Back in the workshop. I did enjoy that burger, but they do make you feel a bit gross, don't they? I normally have, I'm trying to look after myself lately, I'm trying to have salad and salami and roast chicken and just trying to stay away from the can't speak, carbohydrates. They send me to sleep. If I have a carby lunch, I'm basically fucking useless in the afternoon. So anyway, I might fall asleep during the last bit of this video. I want to put fuel to these carbs and make sure they don't leak before you put them on the bike, before I put them on the bike. That's always a good idea. You go to all that trouble of fitting the fucking thing. Some, these are reasonably easy, aren't they? They sort of plump. I'm not sure that's a word. They plop on, and it's not that difficult, is it? When you've got new inlet manifold rubbers, if you've got an inline four and you're having a massive fight with the airbox and etc., and you put fuel to them and find that they leak, swear words come out. So yeah, test them on the bench with a fuel supply. It's nothing. Where is it? It's hanging up over there. It's just a bottle with a. I'll show you. You're all probably wondering. It's nothing highly technical. I've got a couple of them. I think this is a Motion Pro one. Had it for years. Fuel filter on it. You know what I'm saying? Right, so I'm going to put some fuel to them, see if they leak. I was just, the reason I'm oh God, waffle Jim. I just wanted to talk a little bit about bench balancing carburetors, okay? I do a lot of carb work, as some of you probably know, and I very often get asked, oh, are you able to bench balance them for me so I can just put them on? Listen, this is just a fucking fact, okay? You can't accurately, hang on, let me choose my words carefully. You can balance a set of carburetors on the bench. You can fuck around with feeler gauges and get them as close as humanly possible, and you'll put them on the bike and they'll be fucking almost dead nuts on if you're really lucky. They're never going to be perfect. They have to be on the engine they're going to run on. Slight differences in volumetric efficiency of the cylinders, you know, slightly lower compression on one. All these things will make a difference to how the carbs balance up. So you've got to balance them on the engine with a running engine. There's no getting away from it. That's what you've got to do. And just the act sometimes of, especially with something, actually I was going to say especially with something like this, but not something like this. If you'd, what to say, if this aluminium plate was missing from the top here, and often I'll get V4 carbs come in and they've taken this bit off, so they're only held together with one little bracket. They're kind of wibbly wobbly, they'll move around. If I send them back like that, and they fit those carbs to the bike, you know, pushing and pulling on them just with that plate, and without the support of this, the fucking balance is going to be miles out, because you've been moving the carbs around, and it's the relationship between the butterflies. Fucking hell, waffling. On that note, I just wanted to talk about V4 carb balances, as in, all I've done with these is I've literally just held them up to the light and eyeballed the chink of daylight through them. That's just enough. I'm putting vacuum gauges on it before I start it up. I don't need to do any more than that. I'm going to adjust them. But in terms of adjustment, it's worth explaining perhaps, because V4 carbs are quite a bit different to a set of, you know, an inline 4 set. In fact, let me get an inline 4 set and I'll do you a back-to-back comparison. V4, inline 4. 3 adjusters, generally speaking. Now, this isn't 100% true 100% of the time, because there are older bikes that will have they'll be similar to this set in that you have a master, if you like, and on this V4 set, this butterfly, okay, this is where the throttle cables attach, and the idle stop is, the idle adjusting screw is here, okay. So that butterfly isn't movable, if you like. It's the only way that butterfly is either more open or more closed is by doing the idle adjustment. Just keep that in your mind for a second. With an inline 4 set, okay, you have your, I don't want to murder this subject, you've got a throttle stop in the same way, okay, and if you like, this, you would consider this the master, right? The way I think of it in my brain, I'm trying to choose my words carefully so this is understandable. When you're balancing a set of inline 4 carburetors like this, you've got 3 adjusting screws. You've got one here in between cylinder 1 and 2, another screw in between 3 and 4, and one in the center. What you would do, you would balance these two or these two, so they're in pairs, if you like, this pair and this pair. So you'd use this screw to get these two synchronized together perfectly. You'd use this screw to get these two synchronized together perfectly, and then you'd balance the 2 pairs together with this center screw. That's an inline 4, or a modern inline 4 if you like. With the, did I say inline 4 or V4 then? With the V4, with these, as I explained, this butterfly is fixed on this shaft, and the only way it can be more open or more closed is by moving the idle adjusting screw. What you would then do is, with this screw, you would balance whatever your vacuum gauge is reading on this one, you would balance this one to that one, okay, kind of the same. So you'd balance these two together with this screw. So these two you get to balance together, and then what you would do is there's another 2 screws here. Then you would balance this one to that one. Yeah, are you following? And then you would balance with the other screw, you'd balance this one to this one. Sort of the same but different. I don't know, is that interesting? I don't know whether it is or not, but they're just a little bit quirky because you've got 2 screws back down here and 1 at the front. So this is fixed. You balance these 2 together, and you balance this one to this one, and then you balance this one to this one with the other screw. Fucking hell, murdered that, I'm sure. Right, let's get some fuel to them. See if they leak. I'm back again. I watched some of that back, and I'm not sure my point came across. Let me have one quick, bear with me, okay? From a practical standpoint, when you're looking at your vacuum gauges, okay, what will happen when you're doing a V4, this measurement, okay, will stay constant in one place. And you'll move this screw and you move this one to line up with this one, okay? And then you move this one to line up with this one, and then this one to line up with this one. What happens with an inline 4 is when you do this screw, one goes up, gauge goes up, one goes down. That's the difference when you're visually looking at it. See what I mean? Same with this screw, although this is fixed. You find that these two will go, one will go up, one will go down, and the same with these two, and then you'll balance, so you'll get the sort of seesaw effect between these two and these two. You'll get those two synchronized together and those two synchronized together, and then with this screw you'll also get the seesaw on your gauges, whereas with a V4, if you've never balanced the carbs on a V4 before, it can seem a bit weird on the gauges. You're like, what the fuck are these screws actually doing? That was the point of me trying to explain it. So this one stays constant. You balance this one to this one, this one to this one, this one to this one. And it's only the one that you're actually moving, the screw you're moving, is moving that one particular carb, which isn't like moving this screw, because both carburetors will move on the gauges. And it can throw you if you've never done a V4 before. It's just a bit quirky to do. Maybe that's a little bit clearer. Anyway, right, fuel to these. There you go then. Got fuel to them. No. Oh my fucking God. I was just about to say no leaks. You absolute bastard. Alright. Give me 5. Fucking carburetors. Who would work on carburetors? There it is then. What I did was, this is often the case with carburetors. Don't know whether you know this. Fill them. The first time they'll leak. If you drain the float bowls and refill, they're fine. I think when the float needle valves and the seats are dry, I'm not sure, but it's quite a common thing. The other thing that often helps is if you just jiggle them around, or a little tappy with a rubber hammer, just jiggle the floats into position. That seems to, anyway, they're not leaking now. I've drained the float bowls, I've filled them back up again, and they're fine. So that's that. Right, let's get them on the bike. New inlet manifold rubbers on, in position. A little bit of a snifter of GT85. It's really straightforward. I mean, we've got 2 cables, literally 2 cables, and there's a choke cable somewhere right there. Push them into the front first, and then you've got to manipulate the rear in. Sometimes just get a 90-degree pick and just pull the rubber back, and just to allow them to clunk in. Right, let's do that then. So I've got my throttle cables attached. Choke cables there just dangling at the moment. So the plan is to push them in the front cylinders. Probably a good shot of my arm, that is it. Now they don't go in, I felt a clunk then, they don't go in particularly far into the rubber, so there's sometimes a little bit of ambiguity as to whether or not they're in or not, but they're down. Pretty sure they're down. Could eyeball it with a torch, couldn't I? That would be sensible. In fact, I can see. So they're all the way in. Now then, can we get them to go down? Look at that, that's just solid. Let me get you a camera angle. You can see why having soft rubbers is required. Okay, I think that's a better angle, isn't it? And if I get a light, you'll be able to see. So this carburettor needs to go into this rubber. Now then, the way I've done it in the past, or I've always done it, is you put some pressure on the carburettors and you roll the pick around. Do you see what I mean? To feed the rubber into the, to feed the carburettor body into the rubber. It might be, these seem like a long way away. It might be that I need to take this clip off and just move the clip, take the screw out of the clip completely, open the clip up and just move the clip out of the way so I've got maximum rubberiness. Although that looks like that might go. I'm going to push down, roll that round. The problem is you've got to do both at the same time because the carburetors don't really want to go on the piss. And you are right in my way. Going, starting to go in. Let me go around the other side. Oh, that felt like it went in a bit. What's your side doing? I think that might go in with a push, you know. There we go. You can see why having new rubbers is so important, because even with new ones, it's a massive fucking fight. Rest you down there. There goes my 10mm T-bar. Fuck me. Definitely in the front. Definitely in the front. God, I'm doing a shit job of filming this, aren't I? I've got them on. They just didn't go with that reassuring clunk that you normally get. But they're definitely down all the way on all 4 carbs. All the clips are tight and nice and neat. Let's put the fuel back to them. Let's get some vacuum gauges connected up and, with any luck, make some proper RC30 noise. Carbs are all on. I'll just move that slightly for a second. Quick note on carb balancing on one of these, and this is just my preferred way. Do whatever you like. So the cylinders on all Honda V4s, or at least to my knowledge all of them, are numbered 1, 2, 3, 4. So left hand rear is number 1, left hand front is number 2, right hand rear is 3, right hand front is 4. I don't connect my vacuum gauges up 1, 2, 3, 4. What I do is I connect them, which is a more logical way for my brain. So I connect cylinder 2 and 4 here, so 2 there, 4 there, because the screw on the carburetors, number 2 is where the throttle cable came in, so that's your fixed point, and you're balancing number 4 to that. So I have 2 and 4 on the first two channels of my vacuum gauges, and then I have number 1 and number 3 on the next 2. So I balance these 2 together. Well, I balance this one to this one, and then this one to this one, and this one to this one. Did that make sense? Anyway, I've got fuel to it. I've got my choke connected back up. Everything's tight. Let's send it and see what happens. I might get you a slightly wider view of it. Can you see if it smokes out the exhaust pipe? How's that? Can you see from there? Right, full strangle. Contact. Whoa! Fucking hell, that's better. Oh, it sounds fucking lovely. Oh, it takes throttle like a beaut. What's the carbs doing? You can't see from that side. Oh, we're not a fucking million miles out, are we? Given I eyeballed them. But you are lucky in here, lucky Lou. Not three bad, that, Jim. Not three bad. So what I'm going to do is I'll just let's let it warm up gently, get a bit of heat in it. We'll give these carbs a little bit of a tweak, and we'll put the sniffer in the exhaust pipe. And in fact, let me just shut that off for a second. We'll put the sniffer in the exhaust pipe and check the idle mixture as well. I think we're going to do that in part 3 though. I think this part 2 is probably long enough. It literally is. This episode is man fights with carburetors, isn't it? So in part 3 we'll tweak the carbs, we'll put the gas analyzer in the exhaust pipe, and then once I know that's running perfectly, let's get the air filter and all that gubbins back on as well. The new filter still isn't here, so I'm going to put the old air filter in for possibly for road testing purposes, unless it comes tomorrow, of course, because it's end of day for me now, or certainly end of day on this. Yeah, and then the next part 3, which will be the final part, a lot of that will be some road testing and properly riding it. I'm really looking forward to that. As I think I said, this is a fucking special one for me, this, working on this. This is quite a thing. Okay guys, I appreciate all of you. Do the like and subscribe thing. I'm inching closer to my 100k subscribers, and a fucking shit ton of you that watch these are not subscribed. And it's like, click the fucking thing. I'm not going to spam you with a load of stuff. One video a week and you'll get a notification. That's all, but it's a massive help to me. So if you're not subscribed, please subscribe, and just check you are subscribed. You might think you are and you might not be. Anyway, that's enough of that bollocks. I appreciate all of you. Thank you to all my amazing patrons. I appreciate you so much. You're literally the reason I'm keeping on making these videos once a week. Thanks, guys. I'll see you in part 3 for a fucking lovely ride.